Hi everyone, Chris here with a new brand to me, Tribit. This is the first time I'm checking out their TWS tech. These ones here are called the Flybuds NC. The NC stands for noise cancellation. So yes, they've got active noise cancellation up to a claimed 30 decibels. Now these were sent out to me free of charge in exchange for this video you are watching. All the opinions, like all of my videos, 100% my own, and they are not approving this video before it is published. So they have a runtime up to 8 hours with the active noise cancellation, a charge time of 1.5 hours, and you get an additional about 24 from the case. They also support AAC codec. They don't have aptX, unfortunately, but we've got a pass-through feature as well with these. Taking a look at the box contents, we've got a little card here just pointing out that these do have an 18-month warranty. There is a user manual. Now, do take a look at this because you will find our controls are also in here as well. What is missing on these controls, unfortunately, is our volume up and down touch controls. It doesn't actually support them, these ones, which is a real shame. Then you will find, of course, our earbuds right there. And in this little tiny pack here, we have a Type-C cable to USB. And I like what they've done with the silicone tips here. So the tips, you of course need to find the one that's going to work the best for your ears. But we've got some large ones, we get mediums, and some slightly smaller ones and extra small ones to it as well. Now let's take a look at the weight of these. It's very light at 54 grams, and then the earbuds, they only weigh about 6 grams each, 5 to 6 grams. So this case isn't a bad size. It can fit in a pocket quite easily. It's got a magnet that keeps the lid closed, and it doesn't rattle or anything like that. Now, just to point out that I have not cleaned this case now for the 4 days I've been using them, and that is intentional, just to show you what it's going to look like, that it picks up and shows smudges quite easily, and very fine scratches have already started to appear in some places with just general kind of use. It's pretty much normal with a lot of these cases that I'm reviewing with the TWS earbuds. On the back here is our Type-C port. Charge time is about 1.5 hours. And we've got some status LEDs. So either side will be flashing or on continually if it is charging the earbuds inside. So each one of these represents the case's level of charge. So 25% is each of those bars right there. And when you open it up, you can see them nicely presented inside. Magnets hold them in place. And when you do pull these earbuds, you pull them out, they will come on automatically. You can see the status LEDs come on that. So you can use them in mono mode if you wanted to do so. Pull them both out. You see this one will then connect up. And it only literally takes about 2 to 3 seconds and you're connected. Pogo port charging pins are right there. And yes, you can see a few more smudges in the inside. So let's take a look at the earbud quality themselves. So the plastics used, they're not too bad. Again, it does show fingerprints and maybe light scratches as well. This is where the status LED is. Up the top here, there is a microphone part of that active noise cancellation. The main mics for the voice calls are right here, but there are 4 mics that are used in total. So when you're using a call, for example, it uses the mics here at the bottom, but this one is used for the active call noise cancellation, just to try and remove some of that background noise. A little similar to how mobile phones work as well with their noise cancellation. So you can see a little bit of a seam just around here. Inside there is a 10mm driver, just a single driver there, but the seam here doesn't have any sharp edges. Right here, we've got the Pogo port connector for charging it, of course, and the silicone tip. These ones are very similar to the likes of the Creative Outlet Airs and the Outlet Air Gold. Use the same style, which is basically half a silicone tip. But for my ears, it's still actually giving me a very good seal. And they are lightweight here. These only weigh about 5 to 6 grams, as I showed you before. Now, the touch controls, right here, you just tap. So you've got the tap to pause to play, and depending on which side you hold down on the right-hand side, for example, to activate its noise cancellation. Later we hold again, you can get the pass-through feature, and on the left ear, you hold down to launch your assistant. Sadly, no volume controls as mentioned. All right, so how do they sound? Being a little bit larger, they've managed to get that 10mm dynamic driver in there, and it does give us very good bass, deep, punchy bass, Definitely a step up from the 6mm drivers that are normally in TWS Tech, especially the smaller size ones. These ones being a little bit larger, they can accommodate for that driver. So the default tune out of the box is almost like everyone else. They have increased the bass. So using a flat equalizer, I noticed that yes, bass has been increased a little bit. I would say they've tweaked the highs as well. So the treble slightly up. The mids do sound good on these. Now soundstage is relatively good, like where you'd expect instruments to be, where it should sound. I think it's fine. The stereo separation as well is very good with these. I'm really not experiencing any problems. Now, the maximum volume is actually very good. I've just reviewed and taken a look at some ANC over-ears headphones, and they really lacked in volume, which is disappointing. So great that these ones don't. Now, the highs is one area that I can criticize these, that they're not super crisp. I do actually believe we'd probably need a balanced armature in order to get those really nice highs. That's the only area. Otherwise, these do sound very, very good to my ears. So watching some of my favorite TV episodes on Amazon Prime Video, I'm not seeing any detectable annoying latency issues with the sync being out between the video and the audio. Now this is with my phone here that does handle Bluetooth data. It's prioritized really well. Xiaomi has optimized this. So with the Redmi K30 Pro Zoom that I have, this phone, no issues with lag. However, I tested out my Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 and it did show and exhibit a fraction of a second delay with people's mouths when talking that is slightly annoying. So it's going to be dependent on the phone or the tablet you're using. What you're listening to is a sample of the microphones, and they are both loud and clear. So I rate these ones as above average. There is also some active noise cancellation. So I put a fan on in the background, and you can barely hear it coming through with these microphones. Okay, so talk a little bit now about the comfort of wearing these ones. That, of course, when you take them out, they connect up in about 2 to 3 seconds, which is great. And you simply just put them in, give them a little bit of twist around. Make sure you use, of course, the tips that are going to give you a very good seal. So they do look a little bit larger than some of the ones I have reviewed in the channel. But overall, they don't fall out on me jumping around because they've got this little stem here. And I think that really does help. The ones that have this design with, of course, the silicone tips giving you the seal tend to fit in quite well. So no disconnections. Range seems standard. It doesn't seem above average or below. It seems about the norm that I'm getting with these TWS earbuds, that I can leave my phone here on the table, walk to the other side of the house, and it doesn't break up on me, which is great. Now let's talk about the most important feature with these is the active noise cancellation. So what do I think of it? I think it is okay. I mean, you do hear the difference, but it is certainly not a headphone active noise cancellation. I'm talking about the over-ear headphones. Because of their design, you get so much passive noise reduction. And then with the active noise reduction, they can work a lot better because they've got, number one, larger driver size, and number two, it's because of the isolation, the padding on them that they do have within them. So I'd rate these as in-ear active noise cancellation as average. I've played some sample tracks, which is noisy train stations, traffic noise, airplane cabin noise, and it does give you a noticeable difference. It lowers down that ambient noise. They claim Tribit up to 30 decibels. Now I've got some fans that I put on, noisy air conditioning, and when it is on, it noticeably does reduce that fan noise, and almost I can't hear it, but I can just hear it a little bit. So if you come from over ears with active noise cancellation to in ears, you're always going to be slightly disappointed because they're never just going to be as good there. Now sound quality out of these is where they do excel. 10mm driver, deep strong bass, no distortion, no clipping, mid sound great, vocals are also very good, and with the ANC on, it doesn't seem to change the tune too much. Out of the box tune is your typical bass is up, treble up a tiny little bit there, and the other thing with these I've also noticed is the pass-through feature is very handy. It almost acts like a hearing aid that you can suddenly hear so much more. And that's very, very good. If you're in an environment you need to hear your colleagues, you need to hear, say, train announcements for the platform, these will do it. So that is great. And then the call quality is the positive. 4 microphones in total, call quality to my ears, and from that sample, it's loud, it is clear enough that people will make you out. So I rate it as above average for these. What about the cons? So for me, the cons aren't so massive, but volume control is actually one I really do like to have on my TWS Tech. So there are sadly no volume controls with this one. The touch capacitive controls, so tap to stop, tap again to start again, and then you've got your double taps and triple taps for skipping tracks and things, previous track. It's hit and miss, and that seems to happen with all of the capacitive touch controls with me, not so great. It's just really the volume control I feel should be there. And then the last thing, battery life. They claim up to 8 hours with the ANC on. I'm finding it to be more like 6.5 to 7 hours, and it's probably because they tested with a much lower volume than me. They might have been testing tracks that didn't have such powerful bass in it. Okay, it depends on the genre, your volume you use, I know that, but I wish it was a little longer. Still, 6.5, around 7 is, I think, enough for most people. Anyway, you gain an additional 20 or so from this small case here. So that is the review there of the Flybuds NC. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you back with more TWS tech reviews. I will actually be checking out a few more.